2 younger sisters. I grew up in the church. So being pregnant, not married, in school was not something that I was eager to call home and tell mom and dad about. So I felt like, I don't even like to say I felt like I could only choose abortion. It wasn't a choice for me. I just knew I could not be pregnant, and I needed to not be pregnant. And the only answer to that is abortion. And so I made that really tough decision against everything that I believed in, against everything that I was taught. I just felt I had to do it. And my boyfriend and my roommate went with me. And you know, you hear these promises of, this is a very simple procedure. You're just going to be tired afterwards. You go home and rest, and then your life will go back to normal the next day. You'll be fine. It's simple. They kind of make it sound like getting a tooth pulled is worse than going and having an abortion. And so I really wanted to believe that. I knew what I was doing was wrong. I really wanted to believe that, everything would go back to the way it was. And from the moment I walked in that abortion clinic, that was not the case. The moment the procedure was over, that was not the case. My life was changed forever. Nothing ever went back the same. I relate to what Mary Lee said. You block that out. In fact, about 5 years ago, I went to go visit my college roommate, and I asked her, I said, hey, Whit, how was I after my abortion? She still to this day is very pro-choice and believes I made the right decision. But I said, how was I? Because I don't remember. And she said, Rosa, you laid in the fetal position in our recliner for 3 days. And, you know, I was like, wow, you know. But it was such a traumatic experience. It was just difficult for me to just get up and brush my teeth and brush my hair. And so anyway, I decided that I was going to bury this secret. I was going to take the secret to the grave, never talk about it to anybody in the world. And so that's what I did. I vowed I would never say anything. We never talked about it, never discussed it, never saw counseling, nothing. And 8 years after that abortion, I was married in a very bad marriage, married the wrong guy, alcoholic, and everything that comes with it. Never, like Tracy said, I never connected the dots, but I really felt that I deserved that life. We never had kids, because I would say, we're not going to have kids until you stop drinking, because I knew in my mind he wasn't going to stop drinking, so I knew that was a safe way for me to never have children again. When I was surrounded by kids, if you know, my aunt, I remember she had a baby, I was so scared to hold that baby. I loved children. I surrounded myself with children. After my abortion, again, not connecting the dots, but I realized now I was trying to atone for my sin. I volunteered in church. Anything they needed to volunteer, I was there. Children's ministry, I was there. Feeding the homeless, I was there. But now realizing what was happening, I was trying to atone for my sin. And just feeling that this was a life that I deserved. I didn't deserve any better. I didn't deserve a good husband. I didn't deserve children. And so 8 years after my abortion, I saw a counselor. And for whatever reason, it came out. I was like, my life is spiraling. And I told him at the very last second, and he talked to me very briefly, that there's help out there, that there's healing out there, there's Bible studies out there, and through pregnancy centers. I had never heard of a pregnancy center. And I do believe, like Mary Lee said, had I've known about that, had I gone that route, had that been shared with me, I do believe I would have made the right decision. But we can't go back, so just went forward. So met Mary Lee, went through Rachel's Vineyard, and I just can't say enough about it. It's absolutely covered with love through Christ, through all the volunteers. I mean, actually my best friend just went through Rachel's Vineyard so that she could volunteer, and she said, Rosa, I've never been more loved on from the moment I got to the driveway to the very last end. And that was my experience as well. You come in just really covered with shame. I mean, most women, men and women that come through, their intention was never to talk about it, ever. And so that first step is a very courageous step to take. And one of the things that I love about the recovery is when we walk in for the first time talking about our abortion. That's all we talk about is the abortion, the shame, the sin, the pain, the self-punishment, trying to atone for our sin. And through the retreat, it's separated the abortion, the sin, the wrong choice, and then the dignity of her baby is talked about. Our baby. For many of us, we didn't think about that. We're just so consumed with the abortion, what we did wrong, not really realizing there was a baby that I didn't get to grieve because I didn't think I had the right to. So during that time, it's separated, and then we're able to give dignity to our baby. We have a memorial service at the end. They're even asked for us to name our baby. Wow, name our baby? I would have never even thought about that. And then they also encourage us to maybe have a gift to just memorialize our baby. So my gift, actually, I just purchased it for Mother's Day, is just a pink ornament thing, charm, to memorialize my daughter. I do believe the Lord revealed to me that I had a girl. I named her after my grandmother. And had she been born, she would have been given a birth certificate, right? She wasn't given the chance of life, so she was given a life certificate. She does have life and dignity through Christ. And I have that certificate at home with her name on it and the date that I went through Rachel's Vineyard in 2010, and I cherish that very, very much. So it's just, I can't say enough of it. Once it was done, I went through Rachel's Vineyard. I told Mary Lee, sign me up. I think for the first 2 years, I volunteered at every single one, except for one where I was out of town. But now I'm remarried. I have 2 kids, so I don't volunteer at all of them anymore. But I have been through 13 Rachel's Vineyards. And this last one I went through I was part of the Spanish retreat, because there's a lot of Spanish speaking that have had abortions. And so we're one of the few resources, I think, that do hold Spanish retreat. And I'm not bilingual, people, so that's just all God right there. And I was part of that healing retreat. But it's because I have such a passion. I know what it's like to carry that shame and that guilt, and I don't want another person to go one more minute, one more second carrying that shame and that burden, because that's not why Christ came and died and rose again for us. So anyway, that's my experience.
Share what you do at the pregnancy center.
Yeah, so I actually have been volunteering at the pregnancy center for a number of years, but then recently became a staff member, and that has just been absolutely incredible. And that's one of the things we encourage when our participants go through Rachel's Vineyard. We encourage them, go and volunteer, go to a pregnancy center or something like Texas Right for Life, to go and fight for life and share what you've been, given. And so I do that. I kind of wear different hats when people ask me, what do you do? I kind of do a little bit of everything: community relations, reception, whatever they need me to do, I do. And one of the best things is being one to answer the phones. I'm the one that answers that call that says, hi, do you do abortions? How much is an abortion? Well, that's my opportunity right there to share my story. And then for those that come in and put their head down, yeah, I've had 2 abortions. Okay, let's talk. So it's a wonderful place to serve and just to continue giving. So, Tracy, is there anything else you
want
need
to touch on Grief to Grace?
Yeah, so Grief to Grace, like Tracy said, is for anyone who's gone through abuse, physical, sexual, emotional, whatever kind of abuse. Actually, it was one of the benefit dinners that Mary Lee held. She had someone share their testimony, and she shared her having had sexual abuse as a child. And they talked about grief to grace and that there's healing out there for that. My husband and I took separate cars that day because he had to work late. We left. My cell phone rings. It's my husband. My husband calls me and says, babe, I need to go through that. Grief to grace. I'd been married to my husband for years and never knew that he had been sexually abused as a child. And it was because of hearing that testimony, started to release that bondage. Now, it took him a few years to go through, to get there, because then he started getting scared and all that stuff. But we both went together through Grief to Grace, and he did receive a lot of healing through that. And I actually, it's funny because I went to support him, right? I went to support my husband to go through Grief to Grace, but they actually separate married couples. And I realized that although I hadn't gone through a type of abuse like him, I did go through the trauma that I went through being married to my ex-husband, alcoholic, and everything that comes with it. I was able to get healing through that retreat as well. And then let me just touch real quick. Before Grief to Grace, my husband went through Rachel's Vineyard. He's not post-abortive, but he's married to me, and he's always been supportive of me being part of Rachel's Vineyard and the Pregnancy Help Center. But he went through it to see, just to support me, really, and eventually, hopefully, be part of New Heart of Texas. But I was not expecting this at all. At the memorial service, you're able to invite a family member. So he invited me to come to the memorial. And he spiritually adopted my daughter in heaven. So she has a new life certificate that doesn't just say Ana, but it says Ana Castillo. So that was really, really special for me, that weekend was. So thank y'all very much.
Thank you. One more thing I want to mention is that people come from all over to come. We've had a lady fly from Dubai come, so other countries they fly and come, and it's totally God who rearranges flights and schedules. I mean, this lady from Dubai who lives in Peru and was working in Dubai, and we never do January retreats, but this one year we had a January retreat, and she was flying with the cat to Peru, and the only stop she could make was Houston. And so she looked up Rachel's Vineyard in the whole world, and we had one in Houston. And so she received her healing. And I mean, it's just the stories. I mean, we have them coming from all over the United States, all over Texas, and they travel. And not just because ours is free, but it's God's calling. He calls them here. Grief to Grace, they come from all over the world to come to ours too. And one other thing I wanted to say that New Heart of Texas, we have 8 board members, and all of us who work, I work 40 to 50 hours a week, Tracy works, but we volunteer our time. We don't take salaries, we don't do anything. We volunteer our time, so 100% of our donations go to our healing retreats. And that's just the way I wanted to set it up with, I just really believe God wanted me to do that. So we get our donations, we have a fundraiser once a year, and then people who've been touched by our ministry, they're the ones who donate. I mean, I'll be on a plane and talk to someone, and she asks, what do I do? And I tell her about New Heart, and then I get a check in the mail. I mean, you just never know. So we're always looking for donors, anybody who wants to donate, time, money, anything. But 100% of our funds go to our healing retreats. So we'd like to open it up for questions. And Tracy, you had some.
Yeah.
Wait, he's got a question.
Oh, sure.
Go ahead.
That's all right. Did I miss something here? Maybe I wasn't listening hard enough, but did you say that you have denominational retreats?
Well, we do the...
Non-denominational and Catholic or what? Anything?
Rachel's Vineyard has Catholic retreats and interdenominational. New Heart runs the interdenominational ones.
Okay, that's what
Yes.
I thought I heard, but I wasn't sure.
Yes.
And we do have some Catholics that go to that as well, that come to
Right.
our
Oh,
retreats.
We
Sure.
have, they go to
Yeah.
both retreats, and it's basically the exact same retreat, except on the Catholic one, they have a mass and a priest.
Okay.
And on ours, we have a pastor. And
Uh-huh.
we work with several different pastors. We have a pastor and a counselor on every retreat.
How often do you have the Catholic retreats?
We actually don't hold the Catholic ones, but there's another site in Houston that does the Catholic ones, and then there's some up in Dallas.
Oh,
So
okay.
we just do the interdenominational ones.
But we do
So-
have Catholics that come to ours,
Oh,
and
well, I'm
really,
sure
it's
there
the
are.
same kind of retreat. The only thing that we're missing is a priest
Yeah,
to
to
do
the mass.
confession and the mass, and we'd love to have priests, but they're so busy around
Yeah,
here
it's hard to get a
that
priest,
we've been
yeah.
had a
It
hard time
is.
getting them.
Especially
Yeah.
on weekends.
Yeah.
And the other reason we have Catholics who will come from Dallas down to ours, because they're of so much shame. They said, I can't let anyone in the diocese know I've had an abortion. And I can't tell my priest, but after they've gone through a retreat, then they say, okay, now I can go back and talk to my priest, you know, and then they can go back. But they feel so much shame that they feel like if they go a long distance, nobody will know them.